Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. I'm so happy to have you here. It is officially winter here in Australia, and to me winter is being cozy. I'm in this really cute ribbed soft set from Target. It was like $20, loving it. Tea, snuggling up and reading good books. And now I have done some absolute damage. This is easily my largest haul ever. I should not be allowed to go into bookstores, and that's why I tend to stay away from them, because I have no self-control. But it's fine, I'm gonna read them all eventually. I filmed every book I've read so far this year last year, and I didn't do a second part, so that's just gone. We're not even backtracking to that. I'm just going to recap all of the books that I've read so far this year. So from January to now, it's May, and I believe I'm on my 20th book, but I'm reading 2 at the moment. So technically I've only read 18 and I've got 19, 20 going on at the moment. But I'm going to run you through all of the books that I bought a couple of days ago and ones that I've picked up very recently. And I'm so excited to show you. I also do want to say as well, thank you so much to all of those who have sent me a message or commented on my previous video with kind words. I genuinely appreciate it so much. My previous vlog, I was having a bit of a mentee bee. I was a little bit down, you know, it's a bit like that sometimes, but I'm feeling much better, and we're gonna go through some books together. I want to tell you quickly about the process in which I buy books. So I'm like an avid Goodreads user. Goodreads, if you don't know what it is, it's like a social media platform that's like book-based, and I sort of base my like to read list off of that. And that's the good thing about Goodreads, as well as it's free, is you can add like a little shelf that's like your to read list, so you're never like, oh, what do I read next, because you've got a list. I think my list is like 140 books that I am like to read. So when I am in a bookstore, which is never, and this is why, I'm in a bookstore maybe 2 or 3 times a year. This is my first bookstore of the year. I will just walk and walk and walk. I'll spend hours in there, and anything that like grabs my attention, I'll read the back, classic, and then if it piques my interest, I'll just put it in my basket. Like it's like a yes, 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 yes. I'm literally left with like 80 books. I then sit down and I go through every single one of these books on Goodreads, and if they don't have a higher rating than 3.8 out of 5, I will put them back. Life's too short to read crappy books, and I have so much faith in the book community. So if it's over 3.8 and I like the look of it and I've read the back, I get it. And for those who know me, I have always been, like my entire life, a non-fiction girly. Like I'm all about like science, biographies, just medical non-fiction, and like a bit of true crime. Don't mind true crime. But recently in this last year, I have just been an absolute fiend for fiction, whether it's romance novels, thriller, horror, psychological thrillers, mysteries. I'm really branching out. So that being said, let's get into it. In no particular order, we have this book, The Great Dead Body Teachers by Jackie Dent. I saw this cover and I was like, I must have it. I teach anatomy to undergrad uni students. Anatomy is easily my favorite topic, my favorite trivia topic, my favorite topic in general, and it's non-fiction, and it's just like a really appealing looking book. And I had, again, all of these books have a better rating than 3.8 out of 5. Very pretty book. We then have another medical non-fiction, Stethoscope, Making of a Medical Icon by Anna Harris and Tom Rice, which is about the cultural history of medical equipment. Fun. It's like quite a petite little read. And it has little pictures, and I just find it so interesting. Lindsay, what is her name? Fitzharris, I think. She is I don't want to get this wrong, like a medical historian, and she writes non-fiction books about medical things and like anesthesia and, you know, discovering sterility and bacteria, and I really like her books, so notable mention to those. I have read those. And I saw this and almost lost my mind because I didn't know that Henry Marsh had written another book, Admissions, and this is Do No Harm. I read these in high school. I think he's a fantastic person. If you are at all inclined in the medical science non-fiction space, look up Henry Marsh. He had a mini doco series with, was it SBS? I think it might have been SBS, called The British Neurosurgeon. and it's so good. And he's written 2 previous books, and they're just so like philosophical and insightful and like just so thought-provoking while still being so like informative, non-fiction, medical based. Oh, and he's the best word I would use to describe Henry Marsh is just wise. Like oh, I'm so looking forward to this. So it's called And Finally. Very excited to read this one. He's easily my favorite non-fiction medical author. I then got this one because I've heard so much of it. It's all over BookTok, it's all over Goodreads. Archer's Voice. Fiction. I don't really know if this is my cup of tea, but again, if people say it's good, I will give her a go. If you've read any of these, by the way, please put your thoughts below. Now, this I haven't heard of, but it was on like when you walk in, it's like the top 100 best-selling books in the store at that time, and this was one of them. It's called Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I'm so sorry, I'm sure that I butchered that. It's like a petite little read, fiction, and it's about a coffee shop that you can time travel through. And again, it's so far from what traditionally I'm into that I'm just like, yes, I would like to read this. It reminds me of that Stephen King book where they go back in time. It's like a date. It's like I'm just such a sucker for good covers. Like, it's so cute. The next one, it's called Between Us by, literally can't see the first name, but it's McFarlane. It was $30, so I hope that it's good. But yeah, it's just like a sturdy, like beach read, you know? This one, fun. The Chloroformist by Christine Ball. Again, another medical non-fiction. I'm guessing about anesthesia. Pictures! I love pictures. How fun. Plenty of pictures and illustrations. So much fun. And now I actually haven't seen this film, The Good Nurse, but I've been meaning to, but I would rather read the book first. So, is it just me, or does anyone else not like when they put the movie cover on there? Like, I would like the original cover, thank you. Anyway, I'm gonna read this. It's giving like Dr. Death kind of vibes, that's my understanding. If you haven't watched the Dr. Death miniseries on Netflix, you must. It's so fascinating. It's about like this doctor who just kills all these people and gets away with it for a really long time. Anyway, this looks like that, but the nurse version. This is one of the ones that I started yesterday. I'm about 1/8 of the way in, and so far I really like it. It's called The Other Side of Her and by B.M. Carroll, and I would describe it as a thriller. A missing backpacker, $1 million reward, ordinary people cracking under pressure. That's the little synopsis for you. This was also $33, and I'm like, why? It's a good size. But yeah, it's like an easy read so far. The only beef is that like there's a couple of characters, and it's a little bit hard for me to be like, who is everyone? And this is the other one I'm reading at the moment, and this is so hilarious. I had a friend get this for me. They went into the store and was like, she loves smut and things that are a bit taboo, because when I say fiction, I love like rom-com smut, like, anyway. And the sales associate recommended this. Now this book is $61. $61 for a fiction. I think this is described as horror and like not science fiction, but like paranormal. And I was like, I do like smut, but I like romance smut, not like scary smut. But I started reading it, we're reading it together, and I'm actually really hooked. I don't love the style of writing. It's a little bit too crass for my smut taste. I like it a little bit more inferred. So if you like scary, paranormal, a little bit sexy, then you would probably like this. It is a little bit scary, and there are a couple of trigger warnings, including grape and SA and like violence, domestic violence, kidnapping, killing. There's like everything. It's a bit full on, and I find that books where the protagonist is really unrelatable and like really annoying, I quite like them, as long as they're not written from their perspective. And that is what this is. I have made it my little mission this year to read every single book of Colleen Hoover's. Say what you want about Colleen Hoover, I will not have it. I will not stand for the Colleen Hoover novel slander. Her as a person, know nothing, don't care for it. Her novels, however, have me in an absolute chokehold. I am such a sucker for her writing, and nothing can entertain me and keep me hooked like a Colleen Hoover novel. Now, Book Talk has kind of done her dirty in that they made what did they make famous? It Begins With Us and It Ends With Us. Like, they made those her best novel that everyone had to read. No, they're probably some of the worst, most cliche, most juvenile ones. I still like them, I still enjoy them, but absolutely nowhere near her best. So I think that if you even liked Reminders of Him, even just a little bit, try to read any of her other books. That's all I have to say about that. I'm the biggest Colleen Hoover stan, and I went to Kmart and I purchased all of the books that they had that I haven't read yet. This Girl by Colleen Hoover. It's a nice, cute little one. There are two sides to every love story. Now hear Will's. Colleen Hoover, Losing Hope. I think this is a part of the mini series. There's like a, yeah, it's a Hopeless series. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like 3 series that she does, as well as like a whole bunch of standalones. There's like a flow chart that I've come across that like will tell me in which order. I think I've read about half of her books, but I didn't realize that she had so many. This, Hopeless, was Sky's story. Now Losing Hope, we finally learn the truth about Dean Holder. I don't know who these people are, but she just has a way of writing that I'm just like, I'm so invested. Because I think it's so realistic. It's the equivalent of watching reality TV. So yes. Is it good for my brain? Is it teaching me things? No. Is it entertaining? Yes. I don't want to hear it. Thank you. Without Merit, Colleen Hoover. Not every mistake deserves a consequence. Sometimes the only thing it deserves is forgiveness. Where does she get all these ideas? Maybe Someday, Colleen Hoover. An angsty tale of friendship, betrayal, and romance. Maybe Someday will immerse readers in Sydney's tumultuous world from the very first page. Oh, maybe not. Look at how small this one is. This has to be her smallest novel. When Warren is offered the opportunity to live with a female roommate, smut, he instantly agrees. It could be an exciting change, or maybe not. She can write smut well. I have not come across a book where the smut is as good as Colleen Hoover's. It's not super like obnoxious. It's really muted, but like really sensual, and I love it. I also like that her romances are not always happy endings. We then have Hopeless. Would you rather know a truth that makes you feel hopeless or keep believing the lies? The one time I took a recommendation from Goodreads about smut that wasn't Colleen Hoover, I read the book Saint, and it was so bad. It was so garbage. So I was like, that's the last time I'm ever going anywhere else for my smut except for Colleen Hoover. Point of Retreat by Colleen Hoover. Sometimes two people have to fall apart to realize just how much they belong together. And Confess, I have already read this one. This is probably my least favorite one. It wasn't bad. I don't regret reading it, but it was just so similar to Reminders of Him with regards to struggling single mum, loss of the dad, aka the love of her life. She has a son, she's struggling for custody of her son. Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. Wouldn't, yeah, eh. We then have this one, Victoria Perman's A Woman's Work. I don't know why I picked this up. Oh yes, I read the back. I don't know why I picked this up. It's like the cover is just like very strange. Astonishingly rich prize of the 1956 Australian Women's Weekly Cookery Competition offers 2 women the possibility of a new kind of future. In this compassionate look at the extraordinary lives of ordinary women, our mothers and grandmothers, is a beautifully realised post-war Australia. And now, Women's Weekly is like the #1 magazine in Australia for like mums, and it's just like what I grew up on, and my mum had a whole bunch of these cookbooks, and I think it's just like a little bit nostalgic for me. So it's definitely something that I wouldn't usually read, and I can't think of an Australian author that I like except for Christian White. So I have high hopes for this one. Now this one was $56. It is a hardcover. It's called Making Medicine, Surprising Stories from the History of Drug Discovery. Again, another non-fiction medical, because I am a creature of habit. From battered battlefields to lonely laboratories and into the depths of overgrown jungles, author Keith Veronese reveals the remarkable stories behind the development of drugs and medicines that have shaped our world. Sign me up. We're then going on to this pile. This is Colleen Hoover, Reminders of Him. I did like this a whole lot. I think I gave this a 4 out of 5. I got this for my birthday from my best friends, Shelby and Levi. It's called Keep Sharp by Dr. Sanjay Gupta. It's about neuroscience. It's non-fiction medical. Excited to read it. We then have Maybe Now by Colleen Hoover. A thicker one. What is more important, friendship, loyalty, or love? And now there are 2 common books with this title, The Next Girl. I've read the other one. I'll insert a photo of it here. I can't remember who it's by. It was awful. I thought it was not very good at all. I found it confusing. I didn't think the title resonated with that book whatsoever. But apparently this one is really good. It's by Pip Drysdale. And I've had you guys message me telling me to read it, and also on Goodreads it's quite well received. A bad day at work, a drunken night, a rogue Instagram follow, and that's all it takes to ruin a life. I do like this. I think it's yeah, I don't know much about this, but I do really like kind of like a thriller love story. We then have The Girl in the Castle by James Patterson. Believe it or not, I haven't read a single James Patterson novel. This will be my first. Her name is Hannah Dory, and I Need You to Believe Me. And now, I'm the biggest Paris Hilton fan ever, so I obviously had to buy her memoir. She could be the worst writer in the entire world, and I would still just eat this shit up, and I'm sure I will enjoy it. But I really enjoy Paris Hilton, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. Never Never, one of Colleen Hoover's most recent releases. Very excited to read this. This is probably going to be, dare I say, the next one that I read. Never Stop, Never Forget, Just Remember. Very excited. Lying Beside You by Michael Robotham. 2 missing women, 1 witness, so many lies. Look at this cover. It's just, Now, I've heard of this one. I don't know where, but I saw the cover and I was like, yeah, I should read it because I've heard of it before. And that's all I have to say about it. Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. It's a dystopian novel, and when I think dystopia, I think of Handmaid's Tale, and that's one of the best dystopian experiences, I think. Well, it's probably the best because it's the only one I've read, but I thoroughly enjoyed Handmaid's Tale, and I love the series even more. If Everyone Was Eating Human Meat, would you? Yes! We have Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. Now I saw this and I was like, is this about like child rearing? That's not my thing. But for some reason I picked it up and I saw it's a part of Reese Witherspoon's book club and I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked it up on Goodreads. Sure enough, it had a lot of good reviews. It doesn't have a blurb, which drove me feral. So I think I looked it up on Goodreads, like the blurb, and I can't remember it, but it was clearly very catching. The Surgeon's Daughter by Audrey Blake. Haven't heard of this one. Looks like Anne Hathaway. You can't tell me that's not Anne Hathaway. Women's Work is a Matter of Life and Death. So it's about a female medical student, I think in like the olden days, and the men are like, no, you're just a woman. And she's like, I can do anything. And yeah, it's about 2 female doctors and how they improve cesarean section. I don't know if it's fiction. It might not be, but it was $28 as well. In this economy, crazy. Taking to the Field, again, another medical non-fiction specifically about females. A History of Australian Women in Science. Sign me up. If asked to name an early Australian woman scientist, few could. Let's change that. I saw that and I was like, sign me up. It's also written by a Australian professor, Jane Carey. Looking forward to this one. Another non-fiction medical about females. Under Her Skin by Sue Williams. The Work and Life of Professor Fiona Wood, AM, National Living Treasure. It is about a burns surgeon and how they are pioneering the field of burns and reconstructive surgery, the invention of spray-on skin. Very good, very excited. And I am a shameless sheep when it comes to like really popular books. I have read Emily Henry's other book, which, what was it? I can't even remember what it was called, but the cover looks exactly like this. And it was quite cute, actually. It wasn't thought-provoking. It wasn't informative. It wasn't, you know, it was just a fun rom-com read. It was an easy read. Not necessarily a crazy page turner, no crazy twists, and you can always see what's coming. Like, they always fall in love and end up together, but it's just sometimes good for the soul to read books like that. And it was on sale, down from $33 to $25. And I do really like the covers. I just find them really like aesthetic and happy. They give me some serotonin. 2 X's, 1 pact. Could this holiday change everything? Harriet and Wynne are the perfect couple. This is so cliche, I almost want to vomit, but I love it at the same time. They go together like bread and butter, gin and tonic, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Who okayed that? It's so cringe. It's so cringe, it's good. But how can you pretend to be in love and get away with it in front of the people who know you best? I then have heard about this from my friend at the gym who read this, and she said it's good, Before You Know My Name. I've heard it's a bit slow. This is not just another novel about a dead girl. Like, I'm hooked. Like, don't even say anything else. Like, I will read it. Yes. $23, pretty standard, nice cover. Not to be confused with Know My Name by Chanel Miller, the rape victim about Brock Turner, garbage person. But I would like to read that as well. It's also on my read list. Crushing by Genevieve Novak. Why did I pick this up? It's $33. Oh my God. Getting over someone is not that difficult. All you have to do is focus on every negative thing about them for the rest of your life until you forget to stop actively hoping for their slow and painful death, then get a haircut. It's about a serial monogamist, love story, rom-com. That's the vibes that it's giving. Again, I could be totally wrong. I haven't read these. But I don't know, something about the cover. It kind of looks like Daisy Jones from Daisy Jones and the Six, which I hated, by the way. But it kind of looks like that. And I was just like, take my money. Now, this one is hilarious. Because this book, it's a non-fiction medical. It's about infection, and it's written by a doctor. This book, guess how much it was? Just guess. It's soft cover, it's pretty short, it's like a nice little read. Guess how much you would pay for this? How much would I pay for this? $30. Except I wouldn't, because it's $91. And even the cashier was like, this is $91, do you still want it? And I'm like, yes. What's wrong with me? But I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna love it. It is written by Ralph LaGuardia, MD. I really hope that the $91 is donated because he's an American doctor and you already know that they're making way too much money. This groundbreaking book is all you will ever need to prevent and treat any infection or without the use of any prescription medications. Oh no, it's not crystals and herbs, is it? Oh no. Oh no. Plant-based medicines. Fuck, I didn't even read the back of this before I bought it. Oh dear. I just opened a page to hydrogen peroxide. Moving on. Okay, this next one is all over BookTok, and to me it's satire because the premise and the plot and the characters and everything about it is so ridiculous. And if you love it, I love that you love it. I wish that I loved it, but I just find it so absolutely laughable and absurd. It's called The Vampire Queen. If you don't know what this is, do yourself a favor and never look it up and don't buy it and stay away from this on BookTok. It's by Kate Robert, Kate with 2 E's. This book was bought for me by my friend for my birthday because we constantly laugh about it on TikTok. Basically, it's a love triangle / square. I think, I haven't read it. Quote me, don't quote me. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they're vampires and they're polygamous and they share her, and it's very smutty, but in like a really vulgar, like explicit way. Like they use the words, like the anatomical words, and I hate that. It should always be implied. It's just like the worst kind of smut. It's just like vulgar, and it's like ridiculous. The dialogue, the characters, like there's no plot. Like I feel like I've read the book because I've just spent hours on Goodreads reading like the 1 and 2 star reviews. I don't know how this is so popular and how it's such a household name, but I do actually intend on trying to read it, and I'm going to document the pages that cause me discomfort and maybe make a TikTok series out of them, but I'll probably get banned. But the little blurb headliner thing is 3 powerfully alluring vampire men and 1 queen to rule them all. She's half vampire, half human, and you bite them and then they become sexually fulfilled from that, and it's just like aggressive and violent and cringe like that. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say, but you open to any random page and it's just, you couldn't read it on a bus, let's just say that. And it's not even in a good way either, I don't think. So that's the whole part done. Sorry this has been super duper long, but now I'm going to go through the books that I have read so far this year and what I rate them out of 5. I'm going to try and be nice and speedy because we don't have that much time. So in order of how I read them, these are the books that I have read so far this year. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I liked it. I thought it was cute. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It does, however, have a 4.19 on Goodreads, which is very high. I then read Christian Wyatt's The Wife and the Widow. I really liked this. I gave it a 4 out of 5. My only concern is that there are too many characters and it was quite like a mind boggle. It has a 3.99 out of 5 on Goodreads. I then read November 9 by Colleen Hoover. One of the better ones, but definitely not my favorite. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It has a 4.21 on Goodreads. I then read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, which is my favorite Colleen Hoover book. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't like it because of what happened in it, but I think what happened made it like really unique and like realistic, and it just goes to show that like love stories can be like absolutely devastating and there's not always a happy ending. I really loved that, and I just loved the smut, I loved the characters, I loved the story, I loved literally everything about it. I couldn't fault it. I finished it in a day. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Ugly Love, and it has a 4.13 out of 5 on Goodreads. I then read the classic It Ends With Us. Lily Blossom Bloom, her editor should be fired. I did give it a 4 out of 5 though. It was such a page turner. I found it really entertaining. It has a 4.27 out of 5. Then the following book, It Starts With Us, I gave a 4 out of 5 as well. I thought it was super cute. I did really like the closure. Again, we're not getting much like plot development wise, character development wise, but it's just like a really wholesome, feel good romance. It has a 3.95 out of 5. I read Saint by Chantel Fernando, which is the first book of the Knights of Fury series, because I was promised that it had smut in it and it was literally awful. I gave it a 2 out of 5, but somehow it has a 3.8. I didn't like it, would not recommend. I then read Local Woman Missing by Mary Kabuka. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I liked that a lot. It has a 4.15. I then read Lucy Foley's The Guest List, as my friend Lara recommended it to me. I gave it a 4 out of 5. And it has a 3.84. I then read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. Gosh, I can't even remember this one because there's been so many. Quinn and Graham. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's a bit of a downer. It's sort of like about like when relationships like don't work, and it was okay. It was a 3 out of 5, but it has a 4.13 overall, so it's probably just me. Oh, okay, this one has to be the worst book that I've read. Oh, my review's right here. I clearly didn't hold back. I gave it a 1 out of 5, and it's actually really popular. It's all over Book Talk. It's called The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. One of the worst books I have ever read. The author and editor should do something else. Literally anything else. These are some of the notes I made whilst reading it. In brackets, or should I say, forcing myself to read it. First person language is so off-putting. It's overdone and over-reflective. Everything is so obvious and repetitive. Cringe and juvenile style, i.e., who am I kidding? I'm on trial for murder. Like, question mark, question mark, question mark. We know, question mark, question mark, question mark. You don't need to spell it out. Oh my God, I'm so pressed. Plot holes. Sweatpants that he unzipped. Hermes tote bag over the shoulder. The writer clearly doesn't know the Hermes bag lines. Pregnant victim, but no one knew. Cliche and unoriginal, internal monologue, repetitive ramble, spelling every situation out is doing my head in. Add absolutely nothing to the storyline or the characters. The number of non-dialogue rhetorical questions is absolutely absurd. I hate this so much. Why would he know the phone number of someone he's met twice off by heart? Adam was unconscious from Rohypnol whilst Kelly was being stabbed to death literally right next to him, but he woke up and drove home to sleep with Sarah, and didn't notice dead Kelly with 30 stab wounds in a room full of blood literally right next to him when he woke up. Sorry, that was a spoiler. But also, I'm not even sorry, because I hope that I made you not want to read it, because it was the worst thing I've ever read, and I will never get that time back in my life, and I would never wish this on my worst enemy. I don't even know how it was published. It has a 4.01 out of 5 on Goodreads from 300,000 ratings. Generally, I agree with the general public about, you know, books and book reviews, but this is just insane to me. Anyway, moving on. I then read another Christian White, The Wild Place, or Wild Place, I think it's just called. I gave this a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this. It has a 3.82. I definitely didn't see the twist coming. I then read Woman in the Window by AJ Flynn. I gave this a 5 out of 5. Again, the twists and turns, I didn't see them coming. I found them like such a page turner, like so hooked. It only has a 3.96 out of 5 on Goodreads. And I tried to watch the movie and I actually couldn't finish it because I found it like really boring. But the book was phenomenal. Loved it. I then read The Ruin by Dervla McTernan, which was actually a part of a series which I didn't recall, so I should probably read the next one. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I liked it. It has a 3.96 on Goodreads. I then read Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. I gave this 4 out of 5. Thought it was pretty cute. It has a 4.3 out of 5 on Goodreads. I then read The Next Girl by Carla Kovac, not to be confused with The Next Girl by Pip Drysdale. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It has a 3.94 out of 5. Oh yeah. Yeah, this was pretty heavy actually. Like she's held captive and is impregnated and like it's quite heavy, but it was fine. I thought it was pretty good. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I then read Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, which I really enjoyed. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It has a 4.44 on Goodreads. Very sweet, very cute little love story. Loved it. And then, of course, Confess, which I did show you guys, that I thought was so similar to Reminders of Him. And I don't know if it's because I read them like straight after each other, but I gave it a 3 out of 5. But it has a 4.15 on Goodreads. And that's everything that I have read so far this year. I'm hoping to read at least another 20 books by the end of the year so I can film an update later on in the year. And please leave any of your recommendations for books down below and I'll add them to my list, and let's be friends on Goodreads. And I just want to spend all my time reading books. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!